We're talking football signing day. Interim head coach Shane Richardson of UNCP football. Coach, let's first go in 19 signees in this class. Let's talk about the signing class as a whole. Obviously, you had a lot of needs to fill once the season was over, and just talk about how you filled those needs.
Yeah, I feel very, very good about the 19 guys that are going to be coming in next fall. We have, I think, a pretty balanced class, and with the current situation, I think we were able to hold on to some pretty good guys. Of course, we lost 26 guys this past season, and so I think this class has a great opportunity to come in and be able to fill some roles, but just give us some good competition and some good depth right away.
Well, obviously, the Braves are coming off a pretty good football season, 9-2, including a second-round playoff appearance. Talk about the effects of a season like that and how it has on recruiting.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes everything a lot easier to communicate to these guys that are looking at programs to go to. A lot of the players that are pretty decent that we evaluate, they want to be involved in successful programs, and so I think it's important to be able to give them a background and tradition of being able to sell that to them. And with this year, what we were able to do as a team going to the second round, I think it was just a matter of speaking for itself, and guys were very excited about that.
Now, talk about the work that goes into recruiting. When does it start? What are the first stages of it? And then after those initial stages of maybe watching video, what goes into recruiting after that?
Yeah, it is a year-round process. And so typically what happens is we will get out in the springtime, April and May, and get an idea of the guys coming up for the next year and get those junior films evaluated and understand, kind of what the guys are, at what positions, what we're looking at, and what they're all about. And then we'll be able to look at guys as far as stats and information, and be able to get out and see them in summer camps during the summer. And then we'll be able to get out and see them play during the fall on certain occasions and keep in touch with them. And then when December hits, we will really start the process of getting to know them very well face to face, and getting to know their families and getting into their homes. And then we'll try to get them on campus for December and July or January visits, and then we're able to try to wrap things up come February. So it's a pretty intense time during that last portion.
Well, let's talk about the breakdown in your class. 11 defensive players, 8 offensive players. You signed 3 linebackers, 2 defensive tackles, 2 defensive ends, a cornerback and a safety, as well as 2 athletes that will play defense for you. Talk about the attention you paid to defense in your recruiting season, how important it was for you, especially what you lost.
Yeah, I think just the depth that those guys give us, that are going to be coming in. We looked at, sometimes you look at, trying to make sure that the class is very balanced, but then on some occasions there's just players that you really can't pass up and that are really worth being able to go after and try to get in. And so, sometimes it works itself out to where exactly how you planned it, but then other times you've got to be able to, go after guys that you feel like you have a good chance at, and if they can make us better, then we'd like to be able to go after them. And so, it kind of just shook out that way this year.
Now, offensively, signed 8 guys, 2 wide receivers, 3 offensive linemen, quarterback, tight end, and a running back. Obviously, the flashiness always, although you're a defensive guy, flashiness usually comes from the offensive side of the ball, so people are going to see the losses there first. But talk about the holes that you paid attention to on offense that you went out to try to fill.
Yeah, offensively, we lost a significant number this past year, but feel like we got a balanced group coming in that will be able to come in and be able to compete. We're going to be fairly young there next year, and so we'll have guys that are able to step up. We feel like we need to fill a couple of key spots there, but the guys that'll be coming in, they'll need to develop, and they'll need to be able to understand that they're going to need to come in and compete at a high level to be able to replace the guys we did have there.
Now let's talk about a couple of the positions. Obviously, quarterback is a huge loss. Luke Charles, 3,800 yards passing last season. You did pick up a mid-semester signing in Andrew Goodman out of Mallard Creek in Charlotte, who went to Itawamba Community College in Mississippi. Talk about him and his tools and what he'll bring to this team.
Yeah, Andrew was a guy who we had heavily recruited a couple years ago out of high school, and so we were very familiar with him. And we felt like coming out of high school, he had just a great arm, and he's got height, and he's long, and he's really got a lot of things that are very intriguing. And then after seeing that he was still available, at the JC level, we felt like, with him being able to be familiar with us, we were able to have a great relationship with him still, and they were still very interested in maybe trying to get back to our situation, knowing that Luke was going to be on his way out. And so, I think he's got great arm strength, and, I think being able to be a couple years out of high school, he's got some maturity, and this spring he's been a very good addition for us, and he's done everything we've asked and has been working hard, knowing that he's got to step in there and be able to really compete also.
Obviously, I don't want to offend any of your signees, but just picking out certain positions where you paid a little bit more attention to. On defense, it's linebacker. Obviously, you lose a 6-year guy like Fred Williams and Kellen Rankin as well. You do have Darkus Elliott coming back, but talk about the linebackers that you signed and what they'll bring to your team as well.
Yeah, me being a linebacker coach, I don't know that it was just because I was the linebacker coach that I wanted all those linebackers, but it worked out that way.
Right.
But I think, the way that offenses are evolving, we wanted to get a few guys in at that position that were kind of diverse and able to kind of be, maybe a fifth DB on the field at times.
Right.
And so a couple of those guys, I think, will be able to fit into that role. And so, excited about, those guys possibly being a linebacker, but also, we're calling them athletes. They're going to be kind of a nickel position for us, per se. And, I think they're going to be able to fit into that very, very well.
Now, I'm not asking you to single anybody out here. You got 19 guys. How many do you expect a roundabout that could see playing time as true freshmen?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Every year up until probably this year, we have had a true freshman be able to come in and play for us. And this year, we were, pretty much filled with experience and older guys. And so, sometimes those freshmen are, it's just a big adjustment for them. And so some guys that we think maybe can come in and play right away based on their film, based on what we've evaluated them as, sometimes they come in and, it might be a little bit too much of an adjustment for them, and, they may need another year. Some guys that we don't expect sometimes may be able to come in and almost surprise us with what they bring to the field once they get out there, and maybe can step into a role. And so we're hoping, anywhere from a couple to maybe a handful maybe can come in and just compete and show us what they can do. I don't know specifically, if I can tell you the names of those guys, but I think there's definitely a handful of guys in there that are going to be good enough athletes and have the tools capable of coming in to compete with the guys we already have on the roster.